Welcome back to CVM News at noon. Now, a video showing a police officer removing what appeared to be a magazine from the back of a vehicle has gone viral on social media and is raising concerns in the public domain. Now, the Independent Commission of Investigations, INDECOM, recently revealed that scores of citizens have reported police planting guns or firearm paraphernalia, sparking public discussion about accountability, discipline, and trust in law enforcement. Joining us now for this conversation is attorney at law and Jamaicans for Justice spokesman John Clarke. But before we hear from Mr. Clarke, we want our viewers to take a look at a video that we will be showing a little later on in the segment. But Mr. Clarke, you've seen this video. Your reaction since our viewers aren't able to see it just yet, can you describe what you saw in that video and from a viewer perspective, what you understood from the video?
Before I describe what I saw, what one can see in the video, it's important to know that I cannot say to what extent the video may have been tampered with or to what extent what I'm viewing is a contemporaneous, meaning a true recording of exactly what took place in the order that it took place. But what I saw in the video, which seemed to have been a social media posting, were young men who were expressing concerns that police officers may have deliberately placed certain magazine clip in a vehicle. And what I could see from the video, which was a bit strange, was the officer going back into the same vehicle and taking out the clip, which seemed to be, based on what we're seeing on the video, underneath a bag. Why this video is concerning is that many citizens would have, as displayed in the INDECOM report, made complaints that police officers may have planted weapons on various scenes, especially in scenarios where persons are killed. And what this video does is that it provides fodder for persons who may very well want to distrust the police. And it is hoped that the relevant authorities, whether it is the investigative INDECOM or the police own iProbe, will do its own a quick investigation and ensure the public is kept apprised as to what are the true facts in relation to the relevant incident as much as possible. But what it also bears reporting is the need for body-worn cameras to be utilized by all police officers and how those independent footage could provide assistance to good officers in clearing their names from allegations like this, and could also provide a mechanism by which the JCF can weed out persons who do not deserve to be wearing the uniforms.
So, Mr. Clarke, if the video is authentic, what are the possible ramifications for the officers involved?
If the video is authentic, and what I mean by authentic, I mean that it demonstrates clearly what is done, and it's also demonstrated that those officers intended to plant the weapon against the officer, then one would hope that the relevant authorities will carry out the requisite step to have those officers who would have been held by a fair process to be liable, have those officers properly disciplined and, if possible, removed from the JCF. Because all we need is one or two bad eggs to ruin the name of the JCF. And what I noticed, and this is concerning to us as a JFJ, is that in many of the cases that we have police involved killings, citizens will complain that officers would have acted in a manner which is not in keeping with the good name of the JCF. And there is no mechanism in many of these cases for us to have independent videos to either disprove the account of the citizens or to support the account of the police. So what is important, what is to be lauded, is that these citizens seem to have videoed the encounter, and it don't seem, from what I have seen, that the officers who were on the scene took any actions to prevent the videoing of the material search. And in those circumstances, we're seeing, which is unusual, the video recording of the search. And what one would hope is that the JCF would make it quite clear.
All right, Mr. Clarke, so just to allow our viewers to be on the same page that we are, let's have them look at the video right about now.
Just check in the way.
From a legal standpoint, Mr. Clarke, how serious though is an allegation of planting evidence, and what kind of proof would be needed to bring charges? Mr. Clarke, you appear to be muted.
No, so ultimately, thanks. Ultimately, it is a very serious charge, and why it is very serious because it can have ramifications not only for the officers involved, whether the charge is true or not, but for the name of the JCF as an organization, and it can also have ramifications for other cases. Because I, for one, have a case where and I've been aware of cases where citizens would say that officers would have planted things, and then when one sees videos like this, it begs the question as to whether or not the stories that are demonstrated in the INDECOM report about videos being planted, about things being planted, whether those stories are true. And what it does is that it breeds distrust for the JCF, and in our fight against crime, any element of distrust which is unwarranted is something that we can do without as a nation.
So are there any clients you're representing right now who, has this as a concern?
Well, to be quite frank, when citizens are charged, the person say many things, and what these videos do is that it leads to questions in my mind, and perhaps may lead to question in the judge's mind and juror's mind as to what extent those stories are true. Because you'll have some citizens who would say, yes, I have been charged with 16 ammunition, but the police is the one who put those 16 ammunition in my vehicle. So in such scenarios, whilst everybody who are law-abiding and well-thinking Jamaican citizens would want to trust the police, questions like these, even this discussion, can somehow be unhelpful in those scenarios, because now you have to wonder, is the police speaking the truth or is the citizen speaking the truth?
And in 10 seconds, does Jamaica's current legal framework adequately protect citizens from, situations like these?
Well, in my honest view, I would say no, because ultimately our system starts from the premise that we should be able to trust the good name of the police officers. So in many scenarios, as a lawyer, from my own limited experience, our judges and our jurors would want to start from the premise that the officers would not deliberately tell a lie about items being placed in a vehicle. So when you see these types of discussions, it now begs the question as to whether or not that trust is misplaced, or whether or not those jurors or judges are living in la la land. So what one would hope is that this particular situation is properly investigated, and if the allegations as borne out by those young men are true, or if there are any deviation from established good practices by the JCF, one such practice being that officers don't go into the vehicle with items that can fall into the vehicle like magazine, then one would hope that those practices are examined and that we will not be having this discussion in the near future.
So, Mr. Clarke, the police actually said that the magazine fell from one of the officers' firearm. Does this still raise any concern? What's your response to that explanation?
Well, to be quite frank, that is something that I think would perhaps and should perhaps be examined further by the appropriate authorities, that is being either INDECOM or the IPRO. And one would hope that wherever the truth lies, that it will be borne out by persons who are more experienced than I am in relation to the handling of firearm. But ultimately, in any event, it is concerning, because ultimately one wonders if how it is that this misfortune, if that's exactly what took place, was not avoided by well-established JCF policies that officers should ordinarily not be searching vehicle with things that can fall into the vehicle.
Okay, all right.
Because what I understand from the JCF explanation is that the officer
10 seconds, Mr. Clarke.
What I understand from the JCF explanation, the officer didn't even realize that the magazine fell, and it was the young men who brought it to his attention. And that is also concerning from a training perspective, and one hopes that that will never be repeated.
All right, thank you so much. That is attorney at law and a spokesman for JFJ, John Clarke. Thank you so much, Mr. Clarke.